Okay, guys, it's been a little while since we've checked in on Elmer and he still hasn't met a dragon, so let's read a couple of chapters today. The first chapter is Chapter 8, My Father Meets a Gorilla. My father was very hungry, so he sat down under a baby banyan tree on the side of the trail and ate 4 tangerines. He wanted to eat 8 or 10, but he only had 13 left, and it might be a long time before he could get more. He packed away all the peels and was about to get up when he heard the familiar voices of the boars. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, but wait and you see for yourself. All the tigers are sitting around chewing gum to beat the band. Old Rhinoceros is so busy brushing his tusk that he doesn't even look around to see who's going by, and they're all so busy they won't even talk to me. Horse feathers, said the other boar, now getting very close to my father. They'll talk to me. I'm going to get to the bottom of this if it's the last thing I do. The voices passed by my father and went around a curve, and he hurried because he knew how much more upset the boars were going to be when they saw the lion's mane all tied up with ribbons. Before long, my father came to a crossroads, and he stopped to read the signs. Straight ahead, an arrow pointed to the beginning of the river, and to the left to the ocean rocks, and to the right to the dragon ferry. My father was reading all these signs when he heard paw steps and ducked behind the signpost. A beautiful lioness paraded past and turned down toward the other clearings, although she could have seen my father if he hadn't bothered to glance at the post. She was much too occupied and dignified, looking around to see anything but the tip of her own nose. It was the lion's mother, of course, and that, my father thought, must mean that the dragon was on this side of the river. He hurried on, but it was farther away than he had judged, and he finally came to the riverbank in the late afternoon and looked all around. But there was no dragon anywhere in sight. He must have gone back to the other side. My father sat down under a palm tree and was trying to have a good idea when something big and black and hairy jumped out from the tree and landed with a loud crash at his feet. Well, said a huge voice. Well, what? Said my father, for he was very sorry when he looked up and discovered he was talking to an enormous gorilla. Well, explain yourself, said the gorilla. I'll give you till 10 to name your business, your name, your age, and what's in that pack. My father began counting to 10 as fast as he could. My father didn't even have time to say Elmer Elevator Explorer before the gorilla interrupted. Too slow. I'll twist your arms this way and I'll twist the dragon's wings. I'll twist them just the same. And then we'll see if you can't hurry up a bit. He grabbed my father's arms, one in each fist, and was just about to twist them when suddenly he let go and began scratching his chest with both hands. Blast those fleas, he said. They won't give you a moment's peace. And the worst of it is you can't even get a good look at them. Rosie, Rhoda, Rachel, Ruthie, Robert, Roberta, come here and get rid of these fleas on my chest. 6 little monkeys tumbled out of the palm tree and dashed to the gorilla and began combing the hair on his chest. Well, said the gorilla, it's still there. We're looking, said the 6 little monkeys. But they're awful hard to see on you, you know. I know, said the gorilla, but hurry, I've got work to do. And he winked at my father. Oh, gorilla, said my father, in my knapsack I have 6 magnifying glasses. They might be just the thing for hunting fleas. He unpacked them and gave one to Rosie, one to Rhoda, one to Rachel, one to Ruthie, one to Ruby, and one to Roberta. Why, they're miraculous, said the 6 little monkeys. It's easy to see the fleas now. And there are hundreds of them. So they went on hunting frantically. A moment later, many more monkeys appeared out of a nearby clump of mangroves and began crowding around to get a look at the fleas through the magnifying glasses. They completely surrounded the gorilla, and he could not see my father anymore, nor did he remember to twist off his arms. My father walked back and forth along the bank. Oh, sorry, we're on chapter 9 now. My father makes a bridge. My father walked back and forth along the bank, trying to think of some way to cross the river. He found a high flagpole with a rope going over to the other side. The rope went through a loop at the top of the pole and then down the pole and around a large crank. The sign on the crank said, "To summon dragon, yank the crank, report disorderly conduct to the gorilla. From what the cat had told my father, he knew that the other end of the rope was tied around the dragon's neck, and he felt sorrier than ever for the poor dragon. If he were on this side, the gorilla would twist his wings until it hurt so much he'd have to fly to the other side. And if he were on the other side, the gorilla would crank up the rope until the dragon would either choke or have to fly to the other side. What a life for a baby dragon. My father knew that if he called to the dragon to come across the river, the gorilla would surely hear him. So he thought about climbing the pole and going across the rope to the other side. The pole was very high, and even if he could get to the top without being seen, he'd have to go all the way across the top, hand over hand. The river was very muddy, and all sorts of unfriendly things might live in it, but my father could think of no other way to get across. He was about to start up the pole when, despite all the noise the monkeys were making, he heard a loud splash behind him. He looked around in the water, but it was dark and dusk now, and he couldn't see anything. "It's me, Crocodile," said the voice to the left. "The water's lovely, and I've such a craving for something sweet. Won't you come in for a swim?" The pale moon came out from behind the clouds, and my father could see where the noise was coming from. The crocodile's head was just peeping out of the water. "Oh, no thank you," said my father. "I never swim after sundown, and I have something sweet to offer you, though. Perhaps you'd like a lollipop. And perhaps you have friends who would like lollipops, too." "Lollipops," said the crocodile. "Well, that is a treat. How about it, boys?" A whole chorus of voices shouted, "Hooray, lollipops!" My father counted as many as 17 crocodiles with their heads just peeping out of the water. "That's fine," said my father, and he got the 24 lollipops. "I'll stick one here on the bank. Lollipops last longer if you keep them out of the water, you know. Now, one of you can have this one." The first crocodile, who had just spoken, swam up and tasted it. "Mighty, mighty delicious," he said. "Now, if you don't mind, Father, I'll just walk along your backs and fasten another lollipop to the tip of your tail with a rubber band. You don't mind, do you?" "Oh, no, not in the least," said the crocodile. "Can you get your tail out of the water just a bit?" asked my father. "Oh, yes, of course," said the crocodile, and he lifted up his tail. See, he's tying another lollipop to his tail. Then my father ran along and fastened a lollipop with a rubber band. "Who's next?" said my father. A second crocodile swam up and began sucking on that lollipop. "Now, you gentlemen can just save a lot of time if you just line up across the river, and I'll give you all a lollipop." So the crocodiles lined up across the river with their tails in the air, waiting for my father to attach the rest of the lollipops. The tail of the 17th crocodile just reached the other side of the bank. So he went from crocodile to crocodile, tying lollipops to their tails till he made a bridge to the other side of the river. And that's the end of chapter 9. So we have just one more chapter, I think. Maybe we'll read that tomorrow and see if he ever finds the dragon. Bye, guys. Love you.